All right, well, since we are a small group, I'm going to make it so that people can come off mute if they would like. So anybody who wants to share out, they can this way. Welcome. We are going to be talking about social emotional learning today and really focusing in on wellness. And so I'm really excited for those who are here live, as well as for those who are watching this, to be talking about how we can support your students, not just in their academics every day with Formative, but also with making sure that our kiddos are feeling safe and secure, and that we're creating that safe and secure learning environment that we are all striving to create at this time. So a couple of just things as we move into the session. I am going to be recording this. This is just a reminder to me to go ahead and start that recording. Oh wait, Diego, you've already started it. Never mind. Thank you. The session is being recorded. It is scheduled for 30 minutes. You're welcome to type questions into chat, but since we're not a very large group, if you want to come off and ask questions live, that is totally fine as well. During our time today, we are going to be talking specifically about how you can use Formative to really bring value to what most of us as teachers are already doing. Talking about looking at how we can embed wellness checks into our daily formatives, using feedback to build those trusting relationships with students, and then how we might even be able to use the tracker to monitor students over time and to identify trends with how they're doing emotionally compared to how they're doing academically, which is a great thing to be able to do, especially when we're talking about MTSS and monitoring that data over time. So as we go forward, the reason that this is so important is different for everyone. And the next slide, I'm just going to warn you, might have some things on it that trigger something for some of you who are watching, but it's really important that we talk about our students' emotional health. And here are some reasons why, and I'm just going to put this up and let you read through it for a moment. And those are very sobering statistics. I think the one that, the things that strike me the most about this is that this is data from 2019. So we know that since 2020, across the world, we are seeing increased levels of anxiety among students and depression among students, as well as adults. And one of the things that the data now points to is that the increase in anxiety and depression, the increase of those rates are the highest in the elementary age bracket. They were already quite high at the secondary level. They're increasing now very quickly at the elementary level. So really trying as teachers to get a handle on where our students are emotionally is very important. I would love just some feedback before I dive in, because I want to build on what you're already doing. So if you could either come off mute, or if you'd rather type into chat. If you come off mute, people will hear your voice in the recording. If you share in chat, I can just read out some of the responses. But if you could share, what are some things that you currently do in your schools or in your classrooms to try to get a handle on how your students are doing from day to day? And what is working well already? And then what challenges do you have? So let me give you a minute to either type or come off mute. I also recently spoke to another school where they are currently doing like quarterly or once a quarter or once a semester, trying to ask students how they're doing. But a lot of teachers are trying to gauge how their students are doing as on a day-to-day, just to see where they are in their learning for that day to try and help them. So that's where we're going to try and go from, and thinking where you are now. What I hope is that at the end of the session today, you walk away with some points of what could you build into what you're already doing and use Formative to make what you're doing easier or even of more value for your students. All right, let me go ahead and move to this next part. On this next part here, I'm going to take away the slide and I'm going to come over to my formatives. So one of the things that I wanted to just share with you is that we at Formative, we want to encourage you to build these little wellness checks into your students. Now, SEL can encompass a bunch of different things, and some states refer to it as SEL. Some schools and districts do not like that terminology, but understanding that we want to be able to really monitor our students where they are emotionally is kind of where we can all settle. We do have in Formative, we do have some SEL standards, so you can go into the settings and you can look for the CASEL, the core SEL competencies. Those are a part of what's already in here. Of course, if you are a partner with us and you have other competencies that you use for this, we can include those in the Common Standards Project, which is where our standards come from. But we do have that, and even if your school is not using some form of competencies to monitor wellness, they're great to have, because as a teacher, you can then filter out the data very quickly to look for how your students are doing emotionally. And I'll show you that at the end today. But I wanted to point that out to you as we get started. One way that as a teacher, you can quickly and easily build in a quick wellness check is during the bell work time. When your students are arriving in your classroom, you've got something up for them to do. One of the things you can quickly do is, as part of whatever the bell work is for today, you can create a quick check-in. And the quick check-in could be a variety of different things. So for example, it might be a multiple choice question where you just say, how are you feeling today? And you might include, you can add an emoji if you want, or you can add an image. So you could grab a couple of emojis from our emoji deck here, or you can go in and pick out ones that some of your students might like better, that they're bigger, or that they match something that you currently have. Whoopsie, I didn't mean image, I meant emoji. So we've got a bunch of different ones in here. And by doing this, you get a very quick sense of where your students are as they're coming into your room. Who's sick, who's sad, who's feeling a little bit crazy, who's angry. It helps you as the teacher know who's walking into your room already high strung for that day, and gives you a little bit of a chance to empathize with them before you maybe misunderstand and think that they're being rude or displaying behavior that you don't want them to display. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. So you could build a multiple choice question that you use every single day, and you can quickly copy that. And so this could be bell work for Monday, and then you can make a quick copy and bell work Monday, copy, and now you can do bell work for Tuesday, and you can keep that same question there. Don't even have to retype it, but now add your additional question. So every day you could do something real quick like that. Now you could also, let's say that you decide you don't want the same question. You can delete it. And you can add a different type of question. So for example, maybe you want to do let's do a hotspot. I'm going to upload a picture. And whoopsie, let me pull up my pictures here. Sample, where'd they go? There they are, sample images. I'm going to add this emotions wheel. So maybe you have a program in your school where you've got images that you're already using, and you can just quickly add, how are you doing today? And I'm just going to click on this. I'm just going to draw boxes over where they could click. So there's all different kinds of questions, and you as a teacher can get as creative as you want. You can do different questions every week or every day, or you can keep the same one over and over and over. Now down below, here's where you can tag it to those standards. So because I've added the CASEL standards into my Formative, I can quickly scroll through these and find the one that works best for what I am really looking for. And in this particular case, I want them to be able to identify their emotions. So I'm going to tag it to that. I can also select a correct answer. Now, certainly there's no correct answer here, but I'm not going to give them points for this. I might change my point value to 0 so it doesn't affect their score at all. But what I might want to do is be able to very quickly see who's doing well. So if I check off that happy is my correct answer here, notice I've done that. That is now my answer. And when students click on that, it will automatically display as green for me. And I could select more than one if I wanted and allow partial credit, and then happy and surprised, whichever one they picked, it would show up as green. But these other ones would show up as red or yellow, depending on the type of question I'm using, and give me a chance to really know right at a glance who's coming in my room doing well and who might need some additional support. So the first way to build in this emotional check is just through these real quick checks that you can build into bell work every single day. Tagging it to the standard will then allow you to, in the tracker, later view those responses. And I'm going to show that to you in a minute, what that might look like. Feel free at any point to type questions or ideas into chat. If this gives you an idea of something you might do, feel free to share that out. All right. So let me show you a lesson. I'm going to come over to a student view of a lesson that I created as if I was a secondary math teacher. So let me minimize this one here, and I'm going to come over here. Oh, I'm going to pull that one over to mine. I'm going to pull this over to a separate screen because I put this in teacher paste mode so that you can only see one question at a time. So let me go back to that one. So this lesson is a math lesson, and I'm showing it in teacher paste mode. We're not actually going to go through it the whole way, but one of the ways that we love seeing teachers use Formative is for actual lesson delivery, not just for formative or summative assessment, but for actual lesson delivery. And it's great because now if you are a partner school and you decide that you want to also add on the Respondus Lockdown browser, the engagement of your students increases because this is all they will see. Every other application they have will close behind this. And you know that what you're showing is what they're looking at because they absolutely cannot exit out of that Respondus mode. So I'm going to kind of walk through this here as if I'm a teacher, and I'm going to show this first question here. Let me go to the next one, and let me just review this up here because I opened this early, so now it's freezing up here. Okay, so here we go. I am showing the students, this is my introduction. I'm going to teach them about the Pythagorean theorem today. I'm having them do a little exploratory. Then as the teacher, I'm saying, okay, now let me introduce you to these concepts, and I'm going to do a little bit of instruction. And then we do a little bit of exploration together where we can build in some work for them to do over here and put in their answers over here. And this is a fantastic lesson. When I present this to math teachers, the math teachers ask, can we get a copy? And of course, absolutely, we can do that. So we give them a copy of this math lesson. And it's been wonderful to see teachers building in these lessons where they can actually do a guided release with their students. But now with Formative, you can level up a little bit, because one of the things that is so hard for us as teachers is we're working with students who are used to not having to talk. They're a texting group of individuals. And when we ask our students, hey, do you get it? Do you have any questions? They shut down. Many students today, even at the elementary age, will not ask questions aloud. So you as a teacher, it's really hard for you to get that feedback. So although this is a fantastic lesson, I'm going to take it up a notch just by now going to adding into that lesson a few other different types of questions. So here's the same exact lesson. This one I put in student paste mode, so I don't have to control it as the teacher. I'm going to let the students control it. But in this particular case, just for showing you, as a teacher, I would still be doing this in teacher paste mode, but I couldn't pull up two of those at the same time. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to show this to you. So now my students are coming in. We're going to start with some bell work. And the very first thing I did was ask my students, what's the last 24 hours been like for you? And they can select their answer and they move on. Anything you want to share? That's a pretty big deal for me as a teacher to know that my student is grieving, but maybe they're not going to share that out in front of the whole class. Now they go on to the next one. Now the teacher is ready to move on. Now, before I show you the teacher ready to move on, let me show you what I'm seeing on my side. So on my side, I've got these guest students completing this, and I can see their answers coming in. Now imagine that I have 24 students or 28 students, and they're all coming in, and I can see their answers. And I see right here, Winnie the Pooh is not doing well. And when I look at the next reason, I can see right here, my dog died yesterday. And as a teacher, I want to give some response to that. So I'm going to keep this marked red. For me, the student is not going to see that response. I set it so that they wouldn't see their answers, whether it's correct or not. And I'm going to say, I am so sorry. And I'm going to send that to the student. Now I have immediately responded to this student who has shared right here that their dog died. During bell work, while I'm taking attendance, I can just quickly share that back with them. Now we go through the lesson. Here, before I shared the objective, but now as part of my student wellness, I can also ask them, hey, put this objective in your own words. Rate your understanding of this objective. Here's that same activity we had before. The teacher's explaining what the hypotenuse is. We're going to work through this together, do the little project. The teacher's now showing exactly how to work the Pythagorean theorem and how that all works. But then the teacher wants to say, okay, tell me where you are with your understanding. Where are you? Because this is where those students, if you say, does anybody have any questions, they all stay quiet. But now you give every student the chance to let you know how they're doing. So maybe this student who's saying, is sad, is saying to you, I just can't concentrate today. I don't get it. And they move on, but before they even submit this, you're seeing this come in on your side as a teacher. So now I'm going to jump over here to, that was question 10, I think. Let's say, maybe it was 13. Here we go. So as a teacher, I'm seeing, and I'll show you in a minute because I've had a couple other students complete this in another class. I'm seeing all their responses come in. They're about to go to independent work, and I can quickly determine who's ready for that independent work and who's going to need extra support just by building in an extra question here. So let me show you a class that took this earlier today, one of our fake classes. You might enjoy seeing some of their names. We've got a bunch of students in this class here. These five here were absent today. So I'm going to just, let's see here. I'm going to make this so that I can turn this a little bit bigger here so you can see some of these. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, make these a little bit bigger. So I've got a couple of students who are telling me they're doing okay. So that's great. I'm going to select that student. I'm going to just select a couple of these. Hermione, of course, she's doing fine. Willow's doing fine. I'm doing great. Okay. So I'm going to put all of those at green. These students are ready to go. And they might be totally fine for that next part. But some of these I know I'm going to need to actually come back to. So for some of these, I might pull them into a small group, or I know who I need to focus on as I'm walking around the classroom and they're moving into this next part. Or I might ask Hermione to please pair up with Ron and co-teach. I have a quick idea of which students feel like they have it. And just to be sure, I, of course, as they go on, can see what their answers are. So I can see who really does get it and who really thought they had it but didn't have it. And then I can troubleshoot right there and then in the moment. How does this fit with the social emotional? Well, again, if we know that Harry Potter came in feeling afraid because Voldemort was planning to attack him, we know he's not going to be able to concentrate on the math. But if we don't know that and he's not concentrating, as a teacher, I might get on his case a little bit and ask him, I might just approach it with a little more empathy if I understand how the reasons why my student is acting the way he's acting today. So let me come back to my total screen here. So this is that same lesson you just saw, the Pythagorean theorem with the wellness check. So I had the Pythagorean theorem lesson, and then I had the Pythagorean theorem with these wellness questions. You can see here are my students who were absent. They didn't have a chance to take it today, but here are all my other students. And these gray ones are gray because these were the ones that were related to how they're doing today. So, I love, as we've been working on some of these, it's great to see how my students are coming in, and I can easily and quickly get a sense for this. Later, I can go back and respond to them. So for example, if I want to write something to Louisa, I can. I can also give Louisa some audio feedback and just say something like, I'm so proud of you for what you are doing in class, and sending that feedback to her. I can, if let's say, for example, in this particular case, let's see, pretty good, but I'm really tired today, or today was raining, so I feel like that picture. I'm furious. My brother Bruno ate my cereal this morning. If I need to, I can give all sorts of different feedback to these students over here. And I can do more than one student at a time. Don't forget that you can click on several students at a time and say something like, all right, Willow and Hermione are both happy today. And I can just send them some quick feedback. I think the feedback is really important for our students. I was talking to my daughter. She is an elementary student, an older elementary student, and she was sharing with me that her teacher has the clips, and every day they put on the clips where they are. And there was a week earlier this year where she just had a particularly rough week, and she was putting it in red. And she came home and she said, Mom, I wish they wouldn't ask, because when I tell them I'm in red and then they don't do anything about it, I feel like they don't care. And that just broke my heart. And I know it would break her teacher's heart. It's not that we don't care, it's that we get so distracted with so much around us. And when at the end of the day, or when our very short planning period comes, when those things happen and we've moved on to what we have to teach next or tomorrow, it's hard to remember what clips our students put where. This now we have a record of, and we can even just set the expectation to our students. I might not give you feedback immediately, but I will give you feedback. And to be able to do that very quickly in one go is a great way to be able to do that. So in this tracker, one last thing I want to show you before we take any final questions and end our time today. As I'm in this tracker, notice that I can group by standards. So because I tracked everything to a SEL standard, I can turn this on by group by standards here. And I can see very quickly, here were my students, here's my students' emotional state, and here they are academically. And notice Bruno is red all the way across. Louisa is red most of the way across. Luna is red most of the way across. Wouldn't it be powerful as a teacher to see if this is a trend over time? To be able to track our students' emotions over time, their self-reported emotions that they are sharing with us. You can make those questions required, you can make them not required, but they're self-reported emotions, and be able to see how that's affecting them. As a partner school, you have the ability to add your guidance counselors to Formative, and your guidance counselors can create their own class. So when you see a student who is reporting low emotions over a period of 2 to 3 weeks, the clinical definition of depression is feeling hopeless, down, or depressed for 2 or more weeks at a time. And when you start seeing these low emotions over a span of time like that, you can now have your guidance counselor add that student to his or her class. And that guidance counselor can also be doing daily check-ins with the student and providing feedback as well, and pulling students who need that emergency pull. It's a great way to make sure that as a whole school, students have a safe place to report out what they need to report out. There are other places that students have been able to do this in the past. but to be able to have that side by side with the academic data is super powerful. Thank you. Yes, I see that. You're so focused on getting through that lesson. At times you get bogged down and forget to respond. And that's just human. We just have limited time. And when you're out of the room, the clips stay there and you don't remember what the clip said. Now you have a way of coming back to it. I really hope that this session was beneficial for you today. I hope that you're excited and can take this back to your school with some ideas for how you can build in wellness and really support your students, both on the emotional level and on the academic level. Thank you for your time today, and we are so grateful to have you as partners at Formative. Have a great day, everyone.